Hello guys and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 242. We finally got it. We finally learned Shadowlands release date. Was it a bit early? Was it late? 27th of October is the final date, and we will be discussing that today to see whether, the timing was expected, early, late, and what we can think of when it comes to the pre-patch, because that must be very, very soon, considering we're less than 2 months away from the new expansion. We also had a new cinematic. We had the Afterlives Cinematic, the first one already to talk about, which was aired on Gamescom. And yeah, let's jump into things. Let me introduce myself. I am Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and I'm a full-time streamer on Twitch, where I play a lot of World of Warcraft. Let me introduce my lovely co-host, Percudia.
I'm Perk. We've had a really busy week here at Wowhead, where I am the site director. We have been covering the Shadowlands release date, preparing for the pre-patch, even though we don't know when that is. We have Season 1 news, November 10th. We have lots of new merchandise, like a Prince Arthas statue. We have a great cinematic with lots of interesting things to analyze. And yeah, we also have many cats, which is going to tie into some new artwork we have to share with you today.
Yeah, you guys might have already seen a sneak peek of it if you're following us on Twitter, but in case you're not, don't fret.
Brightpaw and this artwork is just like
your camera just disappeared.
Yes, because he unplugged it.
Oh, okay. I just quickly transitioned to the artwork because I wasn't sure what was gonna happen there. Yeah, that was a little bit of a sudden show of the art, but that's okay. We had a little bit of a camera situation over there, but let's introduce the art again. This is what you may have seen already on our socials as we introduced today's show, and it's a picture of me and Perk with all of our cats. And it's the same artist.
Very important part of this show, as Brightpaw threw my laptop off before starting the show.
I think he's just changed your microphone too.
Brightpaw, why are you such a little beat? No, yes, he did. He twisted it all the way around. Is this better?
No, I think you're using the laptop microphone or something.
Brightpaw.
Yeah, okay, we have a link there in the chat.
I think that's better.
Yes, that is better.
Yes.
Welcome back.
He unplugged both my camera and my microphone just now.
Oh. Yeah. He's like, you know what? I want you to change camera and microphone.
There he is.
Oh, wait, let me show you. People can't see you yet. There we go. Now this.
There he is.
Oh. It's like, I am the king of the house.
Yes.
And I'm also in this very cute art picture.
Yeah.
So the artist is called Nashira Sauce on Twitter, if you want to check out their art. And it's the same person that made our art before, and now it's an updated version with updated clothing, and also showing my cats in the picture as well, because last time we made an art, I did not have a cat, and now I have two. So they are both portrayed here with me, one on my shoulders and one right next to me, next to my foot. And Brightpaw is looking very, very happy in Perk's arms.
Yeah, always the center of attention.
Always. Always. So adorable. I love this art style.
So cute. I'm really happy we have all the cats present because, they're such an important part of the show, and I know that all of your viewers have been really asking for the cats to be part of the artwork, so I'm really excited that Katsuki was able to work with the artist and make all the cats happen.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I love it so much. Before we go into other topics, I would also like to give a quick shout out to people who have subbed to the channel. So I want to shout out Threnduil, who just resubbed 2 months in a row. Thank you very much, Threnduil. And we also had Lincoln with his resub as well. Thank you very much, Lincoln. Thank you both for supporting Wowhead. Yeah. I think he's moved your camera a bit high up again, so you need to tilt it down
Yes,
if
he
possible.
did. Right, Paul? Because well, when he unplugged it, he yanked the cord out, and the force of that knocked the camera.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yes, perfect. Perfect. Actually, now
No,
mine
Bright
is
Paul,
too high.
no. Is
Okay.
this fine though?
Yeah, yours is perfect.
Okay.
Oh, Sass also just came in with his 50-month resub. That's a long, long train. And Velestris just prime subbed. Thank you for the prime sub. Yeah, true train.
I do not know what is up with Brightpaw today. He is just like trying to destroy everything on my desk. He's rubbing his head against the microphone now. His tail is trying to knock over my glass of water. He is just everywhere at once.
Got a lot of energy. A lot of
Yes,
energy.
it's the start of the week. He's very excited.
You know, if we didn't live on the other sides of the world from each other, then maybe our cats could have played together.
Oh my goodness.
Chase each other down.
Create an explosion of cat energy.
Indeed. But yeah, let's jump into the WoW news. Yes. As we mentioned, the Shadowlands release date is now confirmed to be October 27th of 2020. And this was talked about, or introduced rather, mentioned, announced on Gamescom, which is virtual this year due to what is happening in the world right now. And
well, I also want to clarify that it might be 27th for you European folks, but because it is a global launch, it is the 26th if you are in the US.
Yep. And that's where this picture becomes very relevant. The global release times. So you can look at this map to see exactly at what time it is for you when the expansion goes live. And it is a combination or a combined release for both EU and NA at the same time, which was the same for BFA, but not before that.
All right. They've done it for Classic, though.
True. Yeah, they did it for Classic too. Mm-hmm.
Even though things like the AQ gates were split up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so if you are in Pacific, which is Los Angeles Blizzard time, it's 4 p.m. on the 26th, which means that if you are in Europe, it's right at midnight on the 27th, and then, morning of the 27th if you're in, Taiwan or Korea. So... did this seem early, late? How did this line up with your expectations?
It felt really early for me. I was not ready for this. And especially with just tying everything together that I'm still doing on retail, and even small things like the corruption is still on a rotation vendor. And if the expansion is in less than 2 months, when is the pre-patch? How do you feel about the release date?
I thought it was pretty soon. I understand that when you get later in Q4, there are more scheduling issues, but I honestly assumed it was going to be like Thanksgiving weekend. Like, I want to say that's what happened when it was like Warlords or like Cataclysm, or like Warlords or Wrath, like late November. And then I thought the raid and all that was going to come in January, like we've had for the Zarlor and Ilatha.
Oh yeah, and we have a really schedule for that too.
Yeah, I was really surprised that all of that was in October, November. And when I talk about scheduling difficulties, I mean stuff like Blizzard doesn't work over the Christmas break, so you couldn't have a Thanksgiving release and then a December raid.
Yeah.
But maybe they also figured that Thanksgiving, that would still be too late. The US is off for Thanksgiving, that would still be too much work when people are usually not working. So I guess they felt that this was the only viable time. Maybe without BlizzCon, they also felt they could, focus. They could release this in this period without BlizzCon, or maybe they had it planned all along, thinking that if there was a BlizzCon, they could do it like Warlords, where, the event happens the day before the expansion releases to build more hype. I don't know, but it was very very early. I was
Mm-hmm.
very surprised. I thought it was gonna be. It's actually funny. I thought it was gonna be November 27th, and my
Yeah.
coworkers are all in the same mindset. So when they pushed the Wowhead article on Discord originally, they just like wrote November as a
Oh no.
reflex. And I'm like, no, no, no. Like let's push
It's
this out on Discord like 10
October.
more times to erase the bad date. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. And I was very, very surprised. And I'm still surprised. I don't know. Is it just me who feels like there's still things going on in the game that feels not completely over? I don't, maybe it's a small aspect of it, but having something like corruption on a vendor, which becomes completely obsolete, by the way, when pre-patch hits, it feels strange. Like the way that I see the end of the expansion is everything is available to everyone and your alts and everything. And currently, I feel like we're still kind of locked to a specific system. I'm not free to change things around and play around with my character. I was looking forward to the end of the expansion where I can switch around the corruptions, play with them because they became so cheap and
like the artifact instability,
yeah,
like
yeah.
making you feel powerful for like a short period of time.
Yeah, have a period where you're just playing around with the system, which is, so broken when it's,
Yeah.
properly put together. Have an entire ineffable truth set. Have an entire Twilight Devastation set for like dungeoning, or sockets. Like the socket price never dropped. It's been the same price for the whole expansion, and it just feels strange that we are potentially 2-3 weeks away from the pre-patch when everything becomes obsolete, and we were never given this period of just playing around with everything. Um,
Another
maybe it's
thing
just not
which
something they've thought about. I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Another thing which seems odd is the other things on rotation, especially if they might be more difficult to do in Shadowlands, like um for example, like the world boss rotation if you want the alpaca mount, or
Mm-hmm.
another better example are things like the PvP islands, because we don't know what the queuing system is like in Shadowlands if you can queue as like one person or three, and if the multi-person queue stays and you need people on the enemy team to queue for the PvP islands, which are needed for meta achievements, it's going to be pretty difficult to do that in Shadowlands. Plus, they're
Yeah,
on a rotation, so you can't just decide to like spam all them out now. You have to wait for certain islands to be up,
that's a
and
very good
that
point
could
too.
also affect your general island farming
Mm-hmm.
in general. Like, I want to get groups from Mythic Islands now. It'll be harder in Shadowlands. Well, I can't just, you know, do that 24/7. Or Warfront queues, that's also probably going to be harder to do in Shadowlands as well, and that
Oh,
hasn't,
yeah.
changed as much at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the max power, the legendary cloaks are not totally maxed out yet. They're getting there, but they're gonna get there, I think, September 8th and 9th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there aren't very many weeks to enjoy the cloak at maximum
Yeah.
power. Not to mention that if you're starting late, yeah, they added the catch-up mechanism, but you're probably not gonna
You're
have
not
all
gonna
that
get anywhere.
currency
Yeah.
yeah, it's not going to go from like 0 to 125 in 1 week.
No.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I am shocked considering these things are still legitimate ways for people to be playing the game, upgrading your cloaks and getting your corruptions and socketing your items. I expected to have at least 1 month at the end of the expansion to play around with all those things, and right now, as it looks, pre-patch is probably less than a month away. Um, or what do you think actually?
bugs with the pre-patch as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a few thoughts on the pre-patch.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought at first it was going to be the 22nd because that's when the Afterlives cinematics wrap up, which we'll discuss later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But then they announced the return of Impressive Influence, the reputation buff, for
Yes.
all of September.
Which
And
starts
I'm like,
tomorrow, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or well, again, like an hour for you because European.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm a little confused by that because I don't know, that buff is meant to be like a, downtime, nothing is going on buff, and I don't know if they would want that to overlap with the pre-patch because, would people returning feel pressured to do Chromie time in Legion and BFA because all those quests give them more benefits? Would a returning player be like really confused that, week 1 they do a few Legion quests and it's like OP rep, and then, the next week the buff goes away in early October and they don't get as much rep? I don't know if they would want that to like overlap and be tainting the system, or, even things like re-earning Pathfinder, the reputations are needed for that, and it just seems weird that, the pre-patch could potentially overlap with these systems.
Has it been mentioned to have an end date as it is right now?
The exact wording was beginning September 1 through the month of September.
Through the month. Okay, interesting.
So that made me think that, maybe pre-patch would be a little later. And there are also lots of leveling and profession bugs, which I even covered one right before the show. The whole Relics of the Past system, it's meant you can take like a low level crafted item and increase the item level of it. So, it's relevant as you're leveling, or it's good max level gear. So not everything is, obsolete from Burning Crusade and Wrath. But there are lots of like vendor flipping issues where you can like use really cheap materials to upgrade the item, and then it sells for like 10 times its normal price. So that seems like it could be exploited. And a really funny example is the tuxedo jacket, where if it can be upgraded to item level 100, and it vendors for 34,000 gold.
Nice. That's my new gold source.
So it feels like that's a little imbalanced. I know people are a little unsure about the heirloom bonuses not being super great.
Like, did we ever actually come to a conclusion or any kind of final thoughts on that? The last thing I heard, conduits are changing once a week, so people don't like playing their characters on beta even, because it's such a struggle to have to wait to play around with things.
We don't even know how you change covenants. Like, that's a big question mark. Like the process, they're like, oh, it will take a few weeks, or you'll have to do a few things, but we don't know what that actually requires at this point, and that seems pretty major.
Yeah, like, is it going to be a BFA 2.0 where like, well, nothing was changed because we were so sure that it would play out fine, and maybe it doesn't, maybe it does, who knows? Because it felt like they were Blizzard was taking a lot of feedback from people and changing things quite fast as well. There were, for example, like the conduits being destroyed, and then they changed the system a little bit, and then there were a few changes here and there which felt like, okay, there's some kind of red thread going, we're moving forward, something is happening, all these interviews and all the talks, all right, Blizzard is listening, and then kind of just hit the wall. Like, I'm not really sure what happened after that.
Interviews with the devs like really slowed down as well. So, we had a lot of them. It was good momentum in the spring and summer, and then they kind of slowed down in their frequency, and people are paying more and more attention to things like class tuning now, or legendaries, or covenants again. Like, I think they want weekly interviews on covenants, and that's all kind of a question mark. So, but yeah, I just, with the examples I was giving of like the leveling bugs, I just meant I was focusing on them because the pre-patch is even sooner than Shadowlands launch.
Yeah, exactly.
So things like the leveling bugs, or the Relic of the Past, gold abuses, that's going to be apparent in the pre-patch, while due to Covenant renown, balance issues with like the end of a soulbind tree won't be unlocked when raiding starts. So like Blizzard has a little more time to scramble to get that ready, but yeah, I agree with your point. Covenants are very much up in the air, and I think it's a little troubling. We don't exactly know how to swap them yet. Like, this feels like Azeroth Cause 2.0, how like Blizzard didn't expect people to want to change, and then everyone is, memeing like, oh, like, look at my super high reforging cost, and look at all this gold.
I know lots of people who are like, I still don't know what I'm supposed to choose, and I'm too afraid to pick anything, so I'm just not gonna make a decision until a week or two later. And it's like, it feels kind of broken that it's become such a big deal when it's meant to just be you quest and you see how you feel and then you pick something, but people are afraid to make the wrong decision, to make the to pick the one that's actually the worst for your spec or class. And yeah,
This would
I
be
don't
nice
know.
if your max level that you get to like try all the abilities out. Like, yeah, you get introduced to them as you're questing, but like when you're a level 50 character on day one trying to power level through Bastion, you're not exactly like theory crafting the Bastion ability, which feels different when you're level 60 and you have more abilities and whatnot.
Yep.
Uh, so it would be good to be like, hey, as a refresher, like you can try out all these abilities. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you saw this, but we recently updated Wowhead's talent calculator because a lot of people wanted us to show covenants as well as talents,
Mm-hmm.
and I can actually drop a link
Mm-hmm.
into it. And like to us, this was like this wasn't the most this was like it was pretty basic, but we just simply added a row under the final talent line that showed all where you
Um,
could swap between covenants, and people were just like, "Oh my god, this is
why
so
isn't like this
simple!"
in
Like,
game?
yeah, it's like, can't this be this way in game? So I can at least reference all of the potential covenant abilities, so I can just open up a tab and just see them all, so I can at least read and understand the difference between all of them.
Yeah, one sec, guys.
Like
I'll
treat
be
the
showing
covenant
you.
as a talent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. So I'm currently on the Wowhead website, talent tree. I can pick the different things that I want here as a mage. Oh, I don't want to play a mage actually. Let's go warlock. Okay. And then here at the bottom are the different covenants. Kyrian, and then you can read the abilities here. Venthyr, you read the abilities there. Night Fae, and Necrolord. This is really clean.
And you can select one, and then the URL updates, so you can share it with your friends. You can be like, oh, like you can see my talent and my covenant choices side by side.
Mm-hmm.
uh and it's just like, yeah, I mean, like you treat the covenant as like a talent that unlocks like two different things, and you just show it. I just feel that people want to be able to reference all the options at once, and it's very difficult to do so in game. And even for collectors, maybe you're not a theory crafter, but just keeping track of like all the mounts and pets and armor sets, and there's even things in the data implying that some rare spawns will only drop the mount if you are in that covenant. Like you need
Mm.
external resources to look all this up, because there's no way, like it feels like there's so much tied to a covenant that you cannot know about in game.
Hmm.
Like, at least with an artifact, like they had like the little preview windows
Mm-hmm.
talking about them. They had a lot more blogs discussing like all the tints for the artifact. But covenants, it just seems like you could be like, oh, I picked this, but I actually didn't know that the following other parts of it existed.
But I think like okay, so there's potentially a mount that only drops if you're part of a certain covenant.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that's actually okay because it's not something that affects your power, and okay, you may not learn it easily from in the game itself. But I think it's okay to sometimes have things that are a little bit, I guess, mysterious, and why even back in the day made things like forums so much more interesting because, like, hey guys, like this happened.
Your point.
So it can open a discussion, and then people can be like, hey, yeah, actually, that thing dropped for me too. Okay, what covenant are you? Okay, I'm this covenant. Oh, okay, maybe it drops for two covenants, or maybe just one. I don't know. I think that's okay, but I think the things that feel wrong is the power things. So the abilities themselves, especially if they are strong, and especially in raiding and Mythic Plus and those kind of environments. But if things are locked to you with only cosmetic things, as much as that sucks, I'm a collector myself. It means I'm gonna have to level 4 characters and pick a covenant each on each one of them. It's still okay. It's part of. I feel like that's part of the
They could just
RPG grind that I
emphasize
can
that.
respect.
I think they could just emphasize that like a bit better in game,
Mm,
because
mm-hmm,
like with Legion, when you had class halls, it was
mm-hmm.
pretty obvious that you would have a class hall that would give you like a class themed quest, and artifact and armor. But Covenants, it's like a mini faction within a faction, which we haven't really had before. Like
Mm-hmm.
I guess the best example would be Scryers and Aldors. So I just feel like emphasizing like, hey, like a lot of not class specific stuff is tied to your choice. Like, think about
Yeah.
it clearly. It will take weeks to change.
Yep.
Just a nudge in the right direction, because I think players they'll underestimate like how much stuff is tied to a covenant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. So you mean maybe a bit more of the sort of shock factor, realizing how
Yeah,
much it actually means. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is
Yeah.
exactly why I know a lot of people who are saying that they're not going to make a decision until at least a week or two when they see what other people are doing to not have to regret their choice. Um, and
Especially because we don't know how long it will take to swap.
and especially with conduits, at the beginning, you may not even have access to all the conduits. But who's going to want to socket something if it's going to take you a week to even be able to change it? It feels
Like,
very punishing.
you don't want the person to be like, oh, like, I have looted one conduit on day one of the expansion. I'm going to socket this, because then it's
Yeah, I
like, well,
want to
what
try
happens if
it.
or like you loot like 3 or 4 more as you start unlocking more world quests, or
Yeah.
you find treasures. Then you're like, oh, I want to choose between my 5 conduits, but I'm stuck on cooldown with one of these.
It's day 2 of Shadowlands. I just found my second conduit. Not second. Well, however many slots you have plus one. But I've already used up all my slots. Now I need to wait a week to try out this one. I don't know. It feels quite punishing to have that week cooldown, and I thought that was still a topic of discussion, but here we are.
There's also
Shadowlands is just around the corner.
Yeah, there's also issues with with corruption. People would feel bad they didn't use a certain corruption, or they would shard an item that had corruption because it didn't seem good, and then it would be hotfixed to be more OP. And I feel like if people choose a covenant and then it gets hotfixed like based on early raid data or like end game dungeon data, people might be like, oh well, this doesn't seem as like OP now, and now I'm the wrong covenant, or the ability I picked this for got hotfixed. I don't want to be this anymore, and then you would feel stuck, or even a
I
conduit maybe
really
being
hope
yeah.
I really hope that balancing is done before, because rebalancing covenants afterwards is gonna be harsh on people.
Yeah.
So that's one part that I feel like, look, Blizzard, I believe in you. It's not nothing is gonna be nerfed heavily. Everything will be decently balanced without 90% of people picking the same covenant. I believe, okay? Because that's going to be really bad. If people have to switch their covenant because a nerf happened, that's so upsetting on so many levels for so many people.
And another thing to consider is that we don't have the pre-patch date yet, but we have the season 1 date, and that is November 10th, which is like really soon after the expansion goes live. So I guess it will kind of force people to pick covenants, but a lot of people are also concerned that this is so early, and if the raid is earlier, that means that there's less time to make the tuning good for raids, and it's not just ability tuning, it's also the soulbind tuning and the legendary tuning, because by the time the raid opens, by the time mythic opens, you could have, I think, 3 like basic legendaries or 1 like fairly strong one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and it just seems like very buggy. A lot of people have been reporting like leveling bugs, like even in Bastion, which is meant to be the most polished zone because it was first. There just seems to be a lot of things that could uh, have the potential to have like imbalance of power issues. And that's concerning if the raid is launching so close to launch, because it could affect, the actual race, or even, something like the tuxedo, that affects your gold intake, which could then affect, buying consumables for progression.
Mm-hmm. Here's the quick schedule of the different dates for the different unlocks. And yeah, as you can see, they are very, very close after the launch of the expansion. I also see a question in the chat to do with what we were talking about a minute ago about conduits being swapped, and so you can change from tree to tree, like you can swap spec, so to speak. You can change
You can
tree whenever
assign
you
one to
want to.
each spec. Yeah.
Yes, it's just within that tree. What conduits you've picked, those are the ones that are on a week cooldown, basically.
Yeah. And it is important to note that since the raid is so soon, you probably will not have a lot of renown built up, which means that you're not going to be like resocketing like all these trees, and you may not even have
That's true. You don't have
your
access to everything.
yeah, I don't even think you'll have access to to all of the soul binds because you need
Mm-hmm.
a high amount of renown to even like access the other ones, I think. Or you
Mm-hmm.
need to do more of the actual the covenant quest line.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be that there's not a ton you can even do at the start, so you have limited options, but the legendary tuning is still an issue, as well as the basic, covenant abilities, like if what happens if one's like really OP in a raid,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Or Mythic Plus, because there's probably a lot of balancing going on with Mythic Plus, as we don't usually cover Mythic Plus in the notes, but there are different affixes, and Teeming and Skittish have gotten replaced, so those need a lot of testing as well, and maybe unexpected things, will happen with how new abilities work.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Um, but yeah, so what do you think of the raid schedule? I know that a lot of people in the US are talking about like American Thanksgiving and how that could affect their raid team schedule and availability, because Thanksgiving
Mm.
is usually the last Thursday. Um, and it's a big like family holiday. Like people, I don't know with COVID, but usually like people have half the week off. People, even if it's like a short amount of time off, they will like fly across the country to see relatives. There's always like big sports going on. The day after Black Friday is a big holiday shopping day. A lot of people will like go out and wait in line to buy appliances really cheap. So even if you're not a world first raider, it may be a little, it may be challenging to field a raid team, not just on Thanksgiving, but the days surrounding it if people are traveling.
Mm.
So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
American people were a little unhappy, and they're like, oh, week 2 of Mythic, or our team could be out. Um, but yeah, it's like, what do you think of the schedule as someone in the EU that doesn't have to deal with, Thanksgiving or
Thanksgiving.
late November holidays?
Yeah, we don't really have anything in particular that I can think of right now, at least in November. So I don't think it'll be a huge problem. Um, but Black Friday, I'm trying to think what else happens around Black
Weeks
Friday for
at the
us.
start of Legion,
Hmm?
and like we only have 2 weeks this time, so like, does that extra week make a difference?
What did you say?
Um,
We had 3 weeks.
so between the start of Legion
Mm-hmm.
and Emerald Nightmare opening was 3 weeks, I
Mm-hmm.
believe,
Mm-hmm.
and between Shadowlands and the raid starting is only 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So it's
So
it's
does
a
that
week
extra week
shorter.
make a difference? Yeah.
I don't think the timing itself will be a big problem for people in EU. We don't have
Yeah.
any very special holidays at the time. For us, it's more December, I would say. So I don't think any raiding guilds will suffer because of it. Um, and for private people, or not private people, but non hardcore raiders, I don't see it being a bad month either. What I am concerned about is having such a short time until now pre-patch, and then such a short time till Shadowlands releases, and then such a short time till the raid is out already. Everything is really compact and fast, and I'm just wondering if everything will be balanced by then. Because another issue with things not being balanced is it's a it can be so upsetting to change things drastically, that Blizzard may just leave it be unbalanced just because, to not have to deal with being too, I guess, punishing for people who've made certain decisions. Like, for example, the covenants. If it does become a situation where some are too strong compared to others, with such short times for the new expansion and then such short time until the new raid and everything going so fast, it might be more difficult to actually find the right time to tune things. Is my first thought. But in terms of EU having holidays, I don't think the timing is bad. I think most people are probably happy with November raiding instead of December raiding.
It's tricky because if you push Shadowlands back too much, then you run into Christmas, which is an even bigger
Oh
issue.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you know from a business perspective, quarter four is always like more lucrative than quarter one because like people don't spend as much because they're broke from the holidays, or like their New Year resolution is to, like exercise and not play as many games. So maybe they don't
Yeah.
want the first raid to launch in quarter one for,
Yeah.
investor reasons.
Yeah.
Um,
I think people too. I think January is such a, it's like you said, it's the time to make up for all the sins of December. I ate too much food, I sat inside too much, and I'm back to work, back to school. I think having a raid schedule in November is probably a lot better for people in EU as well.
with all the talk surrounding Shadowlands, we should highlight what is actually coming in the pre-patch. Like, what are things you might want to start thinking about
Oh,
now,
yeah.
as opposed to things like covenants, which are uh, at launch. So we don't know when the pre-patch is. There's a lot of speculation. It could be the 22nd. Because the final Afterlife Cinematic is that Thursday before. But, it could be the 29th based on this impressive influence buff.
It
I
does
guess we
make
should
more
say a
sense
few
to be
words about
29th.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 8.3 factions are part of the buff now, so if you need the Paragon items,
Yes.
those should be easier to get.
I still need my rank 4 from Oldham Reputation, so.
Oh, yeah, that's also in the Paragon chest, too. So, there you go.
And I also need the mount from being exalted with the Najatar reputation, but on the Horde side. So
Oh,
I'll be
well,
doing those world quests too now.
yep, starting tomorrow.
Yep.
So yeah, so big things that are coming in the pre-patch that people should know about. I wanted to highlight allied races first because I highlighted this on Friday and people were like very surprised by it. Allied race exalted requirement is removed in the pre-patch, so it should be
Yeah.
easier to unlock.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they also have a lot of customization options, like the Void Elves have the blue eyes and skin tones of the Blood Elves now, and a lot of races have new options, or it's stuff like the Zandalaria, where instead of choosing between like sets of jewelry, you can select between all the individual pieces and like mix and match them more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we also have more customization options coming for like the main races as well, way more than the allied races, like undead with bones hidden, or the night elves with flowers and vines in their hair, or humans with makeup, or the wildhammer dwarves. So that is another cool thing in the pre-patch.
Mm-hmm. So everyone's getting the
Um,
facelifts with
yeah,
pre-patch.
everyone's getting the facelifts, and also like transmog improvements like the druid forms at the barber shop, or the worgen customizing human forms separately. All that is pre-patch.
Mm-hmm. New character selection screen. Character
Yeah,
creation, not selection. Creation screen.
yeah, it looks super cool because they all have like the different animations
Mm-hmm.
and updated armor, not the like level one potato armor. So your
Mm-hmm.
characters look epic as you were creating them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what stands out to you as pre-patch features people should know about?
Um, I think realizing that the squish is happening is
Yeah.
surprising for some people. But yes, it's during the pre patch that we are all level 50 and wanting to go back to level 60 again, just like 15 years ago. So we will all be level 50. Corruptions no longer work. And we are officially non max level characters. We are suddenly leveling characters, which means that everything will probably be crazy in terms of damage, HP, healing, all that stuff. Um, Another thing that I think is interesting is ahead of the curve and cutting edge achievements will be gone with the pre patch, but you can still get the mounts that are tied to them. The ahead of the curve mount, which is tied specifically to getting Heroic N'Zoth down, is still available, but the ahead of the curve achievement itself is not. So achievement is gone, but mount is still there. So I think it's a very special time where the expansion is somewhat over, but like not really. So you get half of the reward for doing the same thing. I think it's a pretty interesting distinguish thing there.
Yeah, I would say another thing is that it's not just the character level squish, it's the world leveling revamp. So with Chromie Time, you pick one expansion to level in, and you can do that from levels 10 through 50. And so it's all equal. Like, you can do Burning Crusade up to level 50. It's not like, well, I'm done with this, I'm going to go to, Wrath now. And there's a new starting experience if you're a brand new player called Exile's Reach. And there's a lot of really cool transmog weapons from that. So you may want to check that out even if you are a veteran player. And yeah, it goes without saying that all the class changes are coming. So you're not going to get the covenants, but a lot of abilities are coming back.
Affliction Warlock is back.
Yeah. Some things are interesting though, because like power infusion comes at level 58. So if you're like really excited about some abilities, they may be too high level to access in the pre-patch. But things like, Single-Minded Fury is returning. In sadder news, there are AoE target caps for many melee, which is a very contentious topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of the class mechanic changes are coming in the pre-patch.
Yep. What else is interesting to mention for pre-patch?
There's a new mentor system where if you like accomplish some endgame achievements like flying or like lore master, you and you're in good standing, you can apply to be an in-game guide, and you get like a little icon, and you can join helpful new player channels in game.
I think that's going to be great because there's so many different types of players out there. There's some players who will explain every little thing if you ask them anything. And then some players, or rather many players, who just tell you to go Wowhead it yourself. Or to go Google it. So it's going to be nice to be able to, as a new player, know when someone is specifically there willing to help you, because then you don't feel so bad about asking questions.
Yeah. Another thing with classes that isn't mechanical but something interesting are hunter pets. You can tame undead in Shadowlands, you can tame cloud serpents, and you can buy the book to tame them in the pre-patch. And there are new hunter pet families, so you can tame things like horses from BFA zones, Elix, and BFA alpacas as well. So that's cool.
Yep. I think that's it for pre-patch things for now. We will probably have an in-depth... we've talked about this before, things that are going away with the pre-patch, specifically things that you may want to do before pre-patch happens, and the same with things you may want to finish up during pre-patch, because after pre-patch is over, it's gone. As we have our shows in the near future, we'll probably make some good lists for those as well, so you guys don't miss out on that.
Yeah. Oh, unicorns can fly in the pre-patch.
Oh.
So, like the Lucid Nightmare can fly.
Ah, yeah, I remember us covering that before.
Yeah, so people are excited by that. So yeah, we should
I think it's time
discuss...
for Afterlives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Blizzard is coming with a 4-episode cinematics, the Afterlives, and the first one was aired under a few days ago, and
on Thursday, same with the release date.
Yes, same as the release date, on Thursday. And yeah, we're not gonna play it because it's quite a it's not a very long cinematic, but hopefully you guys have all seen it. If not, let's maybe get a link in the chat so you can check it out yourself. But it's a really good cinematic, and we do have some pictures and visuals so that we can at least take a look at that. But it's really interesting. We get to see Uther, we get to see the old moments of Warcraft 3, Uther with Arthas, and we let's see. Let me get some pictures rolling so we can get a feeling for the beautiful art. Here. There we go. But yeah, Perk, as a more of the lore master here, how did you react to this?
I was really excited by this because there are so many layers and callbacks, not just to Warcraft 3, but even the Warbringers Sylvanas cinematic. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really exciting. And it also raised like implications like, are the Kyrian good versus evil? Um, did Arthas do the right thing? Did Devos do the right thing? Because in Shadowlands, she's later presented as a villain in one of the dungeons, but she comes across very sympathetic here, even if she was kind of rash and hot headed. So, one thing that I thought was interesting was, would Arthas's path of destruction have been avoided if the Kyrian had listened to Devos? Because when she sees the moment of Uther's death and the power of the Maw and Frostmourne, she goes to the Kyrian Council and is talking about how like this is a threat that needs to be neutralized, and that triggers her on her path of doubt and not just blindly following the Kyrian. It shows that there is disorder in the world if the power of the Maw could be leaking into other realms, and they basically tell her not to question anything and send her away, and that leads her towards becoming more of a paragon of doubt. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that part was really fascinating, and if Sylvanas happened to learn about that, maybe that is one reason why she wants to break the cycle of death, if that led to Arthas basically doing all of this destruction, because Uther died before Sylvanas was turned.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was one interesting part. And of course, the big question is Arthas going to return? Because he's right there at the
Yeah.
start of the cinematic. And it just puts the Ice Crown death in a different perspective. Maybe he didn't literally see Devos being like, darkness, Sir Icy only darkness, but that was a really effective visual how Uther and Devos are like literally flying into his vision and putting the hand over him at the moment of his death.
Mm-hmm. It was
So
the way that it was shown as well was really powerful, and it was also really interesting to see Devos have that sort of character development in that short little cinematic, because you see her from the beginning, trying to tell Uther how he's supposed to, think and not go
right.
to vengeance, and then when she started realizing things herself, and she brings it up to them, and they won't listen because she's questioning the only way of, can I call it life? The only way
Yeah,
of doing
yeah.
things. So they can't be like, yeah, you're right, because if they do, then everything they ever believed in just falls apart. So it was a really strong thing to capture in such a short cinematic as well.
Visuals were beautiful because at the start, when we see Devos, a lot of the scenery is very like white and light blues and gold, very Kyrian and ethereal. But then, as we see her have more doubts, we see uh, the interplay of shadows, like her wings are taking on different hues, like her face is in darkness. And when we see these characters later on in the game, they don't look like the Kyrian. They have the darker appearances, and you can see the color palette shift towards them kind of getting darker and darker with the smoke in the final shot as the
Mm-hmm.
cinematic goes on. And like, normally in game is presented as like, oh, like they're the bad guys, and we learn that they're actually like there are some sinister aspects to them. But when we see this in the cinematic, it's, well, like it seems that they're doing the right thing, or it's not maliciously driven. And
Mm-hmm.
the Kyrian are the ones that let Arthas run around doing all this destruction. So
Yeah.
it really puts them in a sympathetic light, kind of like how the Ashara cinematic doesn't point her out as totally evil as well, but doing what she
Ah.
thought was best in that
Yeah.
situation. Or like even the Warlords of Draenor animated things, a lot of them were on warlords that we ended up killing in the cinematic. But like Kilrog, for example, like you feel really sympathetic to him in his short as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, do you think Arthas is going to return? Because I think that seeing Arthas, having an Arthas statue come out on the gear shop,
Yeah.
and all the unanswered questions of regret. Like, Uther threw Arthas into the maw, and he wasn't judged.
Yeah.
Would he have been sent to the maw? Like, is that a place where people just get sent, or normally do they have to go through like Revendreth first as like a last ditch scenario? Because the visuals and the audio really emphasize the difference between Arthas like possessed by Frostmourne as the Lich King, and then Arthas when the magic left him, and he's saying his final words and looks very like frail with the stubble and is all like washed out. Like his voice and demeanor is totally different. Like it's a cinematic trying to drive home that Frostmourne was corrupting Arthas, and Arthas, should be judged by his sins up to like, culling of Stratholme, but not as the Lich King.
Yeah, and
that could have broken the cycle of death. Like, Uther bypassing the whole system, chucking Arthas into the maw, could have been one of the initial steps that broke things, which then brought the jailer to Sylvanas in the short story after Arthas's death.
Yeah, I think those are actually very good points made, because that also further complicates the whole situation. Like, with this cinematic, we can now understand Devos and Uther, and like how they decided and came to this conclusion and decision to do what they did. But at the end of the day, even like the worst of the worst still deserve to have some kind of system of a judgment period, or some kind of process, not just being thrown straight into the maw without anything before that. So it is interesting that it gives some light and a way for us to sympathize their situation, how they felt, but then it also gives us more insight into, hey, but what about Arthas too? Like, he was just thrown straight there, like no questions or anything. So it's almost as if like all different sides have done multiple things wrong, and that also gives a lot more perspective and a lot more color to the whole situation too.
Now, one of the main points of the cinematic is that one of the questions that's like very heavily emphasized is, what is this feelings of justice or vengeance?
Exactly.
And at certain points, Devos is criticizing Uther for wanting vengeance and he should be focused on justice. And then at the end, things have turned where Devos is like, yes, you deserve vengeance. And Uther's like, no, it's justice.
Yeah.
And there's actually a world quest in Bastion where Uther reflects back on the cinematic and says, oh, I thought what I did was out of justice, but now I see it was vengeance. I was not acting properly. So they keep going back and forth before this. Yeah, and that's just in a world quest that you have to be max level to do. So first, it's cool that the world quest ties into the cinematic, but I think it's really interesting because you mentioned the Warcraft 3 throwback, and when Arthas is like smirking at Uther, being like, oh, you won't find me in hell. And so it's like it's really satisfying that Uther then gets to throw Arthas into the maw. And like that seems like poetic justice. But what I thought was interesting is when you look at the visuals of it, the color scheme and composition of that shot with the navy blue and the light streaming, and then the fire in the foreground at the bottom looks really similar to the first shots of the Sylvanas Teldrassil cinematic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the identical color hues. And the whole message of that cinematic was kind of like Sylvanas like echoing the path of Arthas, like becoming what she hated. So it's like, Arthas was really obsessive and acted in a certain way out of wanting vengeance, and that's what led him to, pick up Frostmourne and become possessed. And now it's like, is Uther...
Might be a connection with House of Sylvanas. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like, is Uther becoming that part of Arthas he hated and acting out of vengeance and blinded by, the larger consequences for his action?
I'm going to quickly show you guys the two shots that have very similar, what did you call it? Like art composition?
Like the composition, the visual composition is really similar in the placement of the colors and the colors as well.
Okay, let me quickly show that. Let's see. Here we go. So this is the shot from when they throw Arthas down the maw. And for comparison, we have this one. Wait. This one from Teldrassil. Especially when you put them side by side like that. It really does show that there is definitely supposed to be some kind of similarity drawn there. At least artistically.
Even in the flashbacks, in the Sylvanas short, we had her in the fields of yellow buttercups. And then in the flashback with Uther, the sky is that same sinister yellow. And then, then you have like the Afterlife of Hell with the orange and blue. Another interesting thing that people are discussing is when you see Uther get stabbed with Frostmourne, his spirit seems to split into a blue half that's pulled into Frostmourne, and then a golden half that maybe goes to the Shadowlands. And it's interesting thinking about how to reconcile them. Because, we saw Uther in Icecrown Citadel, and when you turn in Shadowmourne, Uther's ghost is like, my soul has been racked with unbearable anxiety, dark thoughts distancing me from the light. I recall clearly the gleam of pride in his eye as he stood before me, eager to defeat the enemies of the light. It is this memory of Arthas that I choose to keep in my heart. And like, how do you reconcile that with the version of Uther throwing Arthas into the maw? Because that happened at the same time now.
Oh, my headset just died, so I didn't hear the last part of what you said. So in case you're talking to me, you can keep talking to chat.
Yeah, I was just saying that Uther throwing Arthas into the maw is now done around the same time that Uther is talking to you in Icecrown Citadel about remembering Arthas in a positive light.
Okay, I'm back.
So how do both
Link
interact?
established. Charging battery.
I don't have a good answer to that. I think that one timeline could be is that they were split after Uther passed away, and then they were reunited after Frostmourne was shattered, and Uther has these two conflicting parts of him now, and that's why it's difficult to ascend. But maybe them fusing together explains Uther's hesitation to strike down Arthas when he has the chance. That line about Arthas being his student, but it still doesn't explain why his ghost is like talking in a very positive manner unless Uther is lying to us. But it gets like more and more complicated that way. But yeah, I wonder if something will be retconned or if there's something we don't totally know yet, because the pieces don't exactly fit together at this point.
If you're wondering about chat comments, my headset was speaking to them, so
yeah.
But we're back and sound works and everything, so we're good. But yeah, I wanted to show the specific shot when he is stabbed by the Frostmourne, and you can see the two parts of the soul taking the two different directions.
So, like I said, they're like Uther has shown up as a ghost several times, and most of it fits together well, but there's still, I don't know, speaking favorably of Arthas, wanting to remember him positively while condemning him to the maw, seems a bit confusing. And that also raises another question.
Charging battery.
Who knows about this? Because when we play through Shadowlands Bastion, Uther does not explicitly tell anyone he threw Arthas into the maw. And like, this sounds like a big deal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We kill Devos as a boss, so she's not around to say anything.
Wait,
we have.
Yeah.
We have. Go ahead.
No, I understood something you said wrong, but yeah, I got it. You said Devos. Yeah. Go.
Yeah, and he seems guilty for some things, but he doesn't explicitly come out and say he did this. So it's like, is this a terrible secret that nobody knows about? I feel like does only he know about it? Does the jailer know about this, and that's why he goes to Sylvanas with this knowledge that she could torture him in the Maw are like, hey, Sylvanas, the Kyrian did nothing about him, and, now he's, you should be upset with them, not me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
does Sylvanas know that Arthas is in the Maw, and, she was working to basically get to the Maw to best him once again? Does Uther know that the Kyrian were like very blasé about the threat of, Arthas when he was alive? There's a lot of questions about who knows what.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that the cycle of death, where all the souls were being sent into the Maw, yeah, that may have been, sped up with Sylvanas and the burning of Teldrassil, but the gears could have been set in motion much earlier with Arthas disrupting things.
Mm-hmm.
Because another interesting detail is how in the Afterlives teaser, we seem to see Garrosh in the Revendreth
Oh,
short.
yeah.
And it's puzzling how why would Sylvanas in Edge of Night, before she did, the genocidal actions, why would she be sent to the Maw while someone like, Garrosh, who, like blew up the veil and was trying to, racial profiling the orcs, like lots of murder, bombing of Theramore, why would Garrosh get sent to Revendreth, a better place than, Sylvanas from Wrath of the Lich King?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is the magic of the Maw like pulling all of Arthas's creations there, which doesn't make sense because Uther didn't go to the Maw. So it's just interesting when you think about how the cycle of death could have gotten messed up even earlier than Battle for Azeroth. That could have been like the final step of it getting messed up, not the first step.
I think that would actually be able to put a lot of light on Sylvanas and explain, because it was mentioned how they think us learning more about Sylvanas might make us perhaps change our opinion on what happened, because at this time, of course, there's a lot of diehard Sylvanas fans who will love her no matter what. But there's a lot of people on both Alliance and Horde side who are not happy with what she did. And there were comments, I forgot who it was from, somebody on Blizzard, who was saying that with learning more about why Sylvanas has been the way she is, there might be a slight different or new way of looking at her and understanding her better, maybe make some people even forgive her. And having this tied to this Arthas and Uther story is first of all very interesting, and also it could definitely make sense. Because that shows how
Yeah.
much more complicated everything was and how far back it goes too. And yeah, Afterlives, for people who may not have realized, like that part was the part of throwing Arthas into the Maw was a really long time ago. This isn't like a recent event or anything. So if everything has become a sort of butterfly effect from that happening, then it could definitely make a lot of people start understanding Sylvanas better if
Yeah.
she was affected by it.
I pulled up the interview. This was an interview that happened at the BFA, the Shadowlands press event that one of Wowhead freelancers had with lead narrative designer Steve Denuser. And it was asking that redemption seems to be a big subject in Shadowlands. And is there any hope for Sylvanas? Is it possible for her to be redeemed? And the answer was along the lines of it will give some new perspective on the decisions she made not only in Battle for
Mm.
Azeroth, but
Mm-hmm.
that she's been making her whole life. I don't think it's as simple as saying will she or won't she be redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will learn more things about her, and a lot of people might change their point of view on some of how they see her. Um, it's always giving fans more to think about, and pretty on in the course of Shadowlands, you will reach a point where Sylvanas frankly says, no more masks, I'm going to tell you what I want, why I'm doing this. She has some very frank conversations with one of our major characters that I think players will find illuminating. So
Mm-hmm.
I got the sense that she's more of like a cosmic, like, deity at this point, and it's not like, can she be redeemed like Garrosh or Kalthos? It's more like she's, like a avatar of death, and she's, trying to shake up the order of the cosmos. I think that redemption with her is still really tricky, similar to anything with Arthas when you start talking about like the genocide of, large populations like Arthas with Silvermoon or Sylvanas with Teldrassil. Like, oh, she wanted revenge on this guy, so it's cool she wiped out a race. I think that gets into very awkward storytelling.
Yeah,
And
you say
I
that,
think it's
and
really, yeah,
you say that, and then I see comments in the chat like redeemed. She did nothing wrong.
yeah.
So it's funny to see like different sides of things.
Yeah. So I just I think understanding motivations is fair, but I don't know. I feel like Blizzard has kind of done a lot of kind of heavy-handed redemption arcs in their other games, and we don't need another one, especially if they're going to go into dark topics that could be, handled with more nuance than maybe they got in, Battle for Azeroth. So, but yeah, I mean, it is more logical that if the Shadowlands kind of let Arthas slide, why Sylvanas would think the system sucks and wants to break it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a pass to start attacking a race of people.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting because she is also the one who took the step to make all this happen.
You mean like has she agreed to the jailer's plan or something else?
I mean this last step of destroying the helm and actually causing Shadowlands to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how much she knows about things, but
No.
if Frostmourne was something possessing Arthas and that got shattered and then the souls were freed and then the, power of the Maw left his body, maybe Sylvanas wants to break more, artifacts that can have magical holds over people and contribute to the power of this entity that caused her so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
But we do learn in one of the Shadowlands lines that even the broken helm, like it's bonded in a way to the person that changed it. So she has some bond with this broken helm, whether she destroyed it, but she's still somehow tied to it
because she broke it.
Yeah, there's some like dialogue line in Ouroboros about it. Let me see if I can pull it. Ouroboros.
That's interesting. So any kind of change.
I can't find it easily, but it's there.
Yeah, I trust your memory.
But yeah, so there's a lot that we learned. I guess also, did Devos do the right thing? Because she's portrayed in a very sympathetic way. And the Kyrians seem to... It feels like the Kyrian perspective is like a cult, and it's not sustainable, and something would have made them change their minds at some point if Arthas hadn't come around. Something else would have come about.
Mm-hmm.
Like some other major lore figure that, was dealing with, atrocities in the past. Like maybe a Draenei that had, witnessed the rise of the Horde and the bloodshed and, the Path of Bones in Hellfire Peninsula. Like, there would have been some atrocity that I think would have made a character like Devos, who's the paragon of loyalty, be more loyal and sympathetic towards the victim than the Kyrian just, brushing everyone off.
So you mentioned in Shadowlands that we kill her in a dungeon.
Yeah, Spires of Ascension.
Did we talk to her before that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Because I'm wondering what her words on the situation are.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know that her replacement as the leader of the Forsworn is much nastier, and it's like, oh, like we're part of the jailer's master plan. And then it's like, well, if Devos wanted to break the cycle of death, and the Kyrian were cool with the Lich King, maybe the jailer recruits, entities to his side by you being like, hey, like I can form a deal, I can actually help give you what you want, like I'm the good guy. You don't know that. So but yeah,
makes me a little bit sad. I feel like Devos seemed like a cool person.
Well, it could be like, I mean, you have to wonder, I mean, we are rewriting the rules of death. she could, in theory, come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like Ashara was really cool, and she came back a few times. So
Yeah. True.
maybe Devos will play a bigger role in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she seems very interesting, and I like that we've got all this really, beautiful art of her with her Kyrian
Mm-hmm.
wings. And the Covenant story is continuing in future patches because after seeing how, shitty they were to Uther, and the Covenant quest ending with Uther trying to be like, oh, I did the wrong thing, I'll follow the Kyrian. Now you're like, I think I feel like he's gonna have more doubts. It doesn't feel like it's just going to end there.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder. I almost wonder if we're starting off with Revendreth and then the Castle Nathria dungeon, if we're going to work backwards and have like a raid themed after every Covenant, with Kyrian being the final one, and
Oh.
maybe we'll see more with Devos there, or
Oh,
Arthas.
bright paw.
Hello, Brightpaw. So I just have to wonder if there was like a Bastion themed dungeon, if things like we'd be fighting different like doubts and regrets, or fallen Kyrian.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a really cool dungeon as well, with like some light themed areas and then some darker Forsworn themed areas as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, why don't we talk a little about the release schedule for the other cinematics, because
Yes.
we have them. They're coming out every Thursday, the next 3 Thursdays, and we have little teaser images for them. And Maldraxxus seems to be Draka, the mother of Thrall, which I think will be really interesting because Thrall is back. He has a new model. He's gets sucked into the maw in Shadowlands, and we haven't met. He hasn't met his actual family. He met his AU parents in Warlords, but he didn't introduce himself to them. They don't
Yeah.
know that he's his like related son.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that will be very interesting to see Draka. Maybe we'll actually, get a flashback to her life as well. It's interesting how she ends up in like the Necrolord Bones area, so maybe that will make the connection clearer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Revendreth is sire to Nathrius, as well as that image of Garrosh.
Oh yeah.
He is viewed in game as like a villain. He's the final boss of Castle Nathria, but based on how we saw Devos be sympathetic, you have to wonder if this cinematic
Maybe his
will,
story too.
yeah, maybe make him sympathetic as well, or maybe we learn maybe Garrosh is going to be sent to the Maw, or maybe, as he's dealing with Garrosh, that he communicates with the jailer. You don't know, but I feel like that's going to reveal a lot of interesting things and maybe give some closure to Garrosh in Warlords as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's
And
interesting because talking about Sylvanas often also opens discussions on Garish. So it's interesting to
yeah,
have like both stories now come and tying to together, or not together exactly, but for us at least to face both stories at the same time as well is interesting. I was
it could
surprised to see
also
Garish there on
it
the.
could also answer some questions of like main universe and alternate universe, because
Mm-hmm.
Garrosh died in on Draenor, and I think there's been some speculation like, oh, if you were in the AU universe, do you go to Shadowlands? Do you go somewhere else? Like, could there be two Drakas running around? Is Garrosh here? Are there
Mm.
Gul'dans? So maybe we'll
Oh
see
my
some
god.
loose
Multiple.
ends on that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Didn't think about that.
yeah.
Just casual two
So
Drakas running
Ardenweald.
around. Yeah?
I don't know who Ardenweald is. If I
Yes.
had to guess, I almost wonder if we've spoken like previously about the Night Warriors from another planet that like decided to become the Night Warriors to save their planet, but the power became too much for them. So I have to wonder if they're dramatizing their story and showing more Night Warrior visuals, but it's a little confusing because the other characters are like, you know, Uther is a very famous character, and so is Draka, and Sire Denathrius is a final boss, but those Ardenvale characters are just side characters. So I'm not sure if it's them, but the image doesn't remind me of any character I've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of looks like a dude with, brown hair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what to make of Ardenweald. Ardenweald kind of seems to be the different quest line so far. Like the other three, sort of tied together. We learn how things are tied to the jailer. We learn like more threats hinting at Kel'Thuzad. But it feels like Ardenweald is more tying up Tyrande and Bwonsamdi, so that's getting a slightly different treatment. But I guess we'll see.
Can this be a related person to Trond?
I'm not sure. It doesn't really look like a night elf. So my guess is that maybe it's maybe we would go between Tyrande currently as the Night Warrior, and then this character as the past Night Warrior, and the cinematic could like flash between both of them.
But then I'm surprised that she wouldn't be on the cover of it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to give too much away, but Uther was there. I have to wonder. Because I really don't know who this character is.
Yeah.
And in Ardenweald, all the characters get turned into animals, so I'm not like, oh yeah, it has this model. So.
Yeah. So in terms of order, we have Maldraxxus, which will be out next Thursday, and then we have the Ardenweald the Thursday after that, and last but not least is Revamp. Because I was thinking for a moment, maybe this one is a little bit more hidden because it's the last one, so maybe because of that they wanted to keep the main character somewhat mysterious, but it's not the last one, it's the third one.
Yeah,
going to be interesting to see what that's going to be.
Yeah. So with that, we can highlight a few of the Shadowlands updates in the last week. Oh, yeah. In addition to all these things, there were many class changes, including monks finally getting a blue post in Shadowlands. Very exciting, their first blue post.
Yay! Celebration.
Yeah.
Yep.
The first thing we wanted to highlight is people now know how to get the Sin Runner Blanchie mount.
Oh, yeah, it looks so cool. There it is.
Yeah. So we still don't know why she is in Revendreth, what horrible things she did.
Yeah.
But she runs around a certain area, and if you bring her different things every day, like a handful of oats or sturdy horseshoe, on the 6th day you will have tamed her, and then you can learn the mount.
Yep.
So
and
it's a little complicated,
looks really
but
cool.
it's not a total secret.
There it is, a little bit more zoomed in. It's really cool. Not only the texture or the color of the mount itself, but also the smoke effect that runs after it.
It's if you have anima, she has like a cooler, bloodier effect. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she looks really cool. Finally a horse mount. I think people are excited to get.
Another horse mount, yes. Yeah. Alliance players.
Speaking of Revendreth, we also have the finally the Leather Castle Nathria set 2. Again, very bloody and red.
As you say that, it's the green one that's showing.
Oh.
But soon, yeah, soon it's going to be very red and bloody. There it is. Yeah, I love this theme color. Red and dark, or red and black.
I think it looks really fun. We still don't know the leather legendary shoulders, but this is a good step. One more set is done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this red and black set.
Yeah.
This black and red set on the Blanchie mount.
Ooh, that will look nice.
Yeah. I think that's a good combo. Very mysterious. I like it.
I like the holy set too.
The what, sorry?
The holy set, like the white and yellow set.
Mm-hmm. But no updates on that now, right?
Oh, no, just one of the tints in the leather set is like very white and gold.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Holy Spec.
Oh, no, nothing on Holy Priest. I don't think they got a post, only Shadow Priest got a post this time.
Yes. Wait, let me bring it back then. I want to see the holy color now. Here we go. Okay, I'll have this slideshow running as we go. Speaking of transmogs, we have some more updates on the artifact transmogs, which has been quite a big topic as of lately because of restrictions being lifted. And now I think I see the holy one that you're talking about. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, so the artifact weapons can be transmogged cross specs, meaning if I am an Affliction Warlock, I can transmog into my Destruction artifact transmogs, which was never possible in the past. And I believe the reasoning in the past was because or maybe not the main reason, but one of the reasons was how it could be a little bit lore breaking, or not necessarily lore breaking, but a little bit of character breaking, because if you are a paladin, for example, then you're using Ashbringer, and then if you're holy paladin, but then you're transmogging into like something that your spec isn't supposed to be using, it can be kind of strange or weird. But now they are loosening all the restrictions, maybe because, well, Legion is getting old now. It's old content. A lot of times when things get older, restrictions are lifted so that we can have more fun with it. Maybe also part of the reason was they felt that everyone would end up transmogging the same thing when it's the expansion after Legion. And now that interest might have fallen from the transmogs back then, this could potentially make people start using those transmogs again and maybe have more reason to farm different tints for the different weapons that they've unlocked.
There's also been some technical limitations, because previously it's like, oh, this is your specs artifact, and when you pick this main hand, like the offhand is instantly locked into a certain thing. And, you know, if you're like a fire mage and using a staff, you can still like change to the appearance of the artifact that's a sword and an offhand. So they could have been coded a certain way that prevented them from being treated as regular weapons in the data. So what we have now is that if you're a certain spec, you can use your artifacts creatively, where you don't need to be using the proper weapon type to mog to the artifact appearance. So it's like the one-hander versus staff thing you can do. But which is like, which is pretty unique. But and then if you want to transmog to another spec, you can do so if the weapon is the proper type. So if you have a staff, and if you're like a fire mage with a staff, you can use the frost mage staff or Alanith. But if you were a fire mage with a one-hander, you could not use the frost mage staff, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But, it's still a lot more flexible than in the past, where you couldn't use those other artifact weapon appearances at all.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And people have found a lot of really creative things that they can do with this now when you treat artifact tints as regular weapon appearances. For example, you can have a main hand and offhand be different tints of the same artifact. So a lot of people really like the Demon Hunter glaive that's flamey. So we have a picture of like someone with the purple version in one hand and green in another hand. If you are, Fury with two weapons, you can use different artifacts at the same time. You can have like a Fury appearance in one hand and an Arms appearance in a different hand. Or you can use like a holy, you can use like a mace. One cool thing is Single-Minded Fury. You can use the flails from the protection appearance and dual wield them as Single-Minded Fury. Or you can, dual wield doom hammers as opposed to the main hand and offhand. Or use like elemental fist weapons as enhancement. So there are a lot of really exciting creative combinations that this system opens up, which wasn't possible before.
A comment in chat, so I can finally use the flail without using the shield.
That's one example. Beforehand it was like, oh well, I want the flail, but now I've got the shield coming along for the ride. and now you can pick and choose which half of the set you want to use at the same time. So even if you like really like your main spec, you still have more flexibility. So
and having different colored weapons kind of also opens up the topic again of having different shoulders, because being able to have that asymmetry on weapons, very flashy neon pink and neon green like the Demon Hunter one, and then imagine if you could find neon pink and neon green shoulders to match with that. That would be cool.
I think in the Mr. GM interview, he asked about the shoulder progress, because there was some data mining that you could change one but not the other, and I think there were more technical limitations to that. So maybe now that they figured it out with artifacts, they can apply it to shoulders.
Yeah,
I don't know if shoulders
it does sound
are more
like something they might do.
But yeah, hopefully it can come, because they did have that in a global string, but it never actually made it to the barbershop.
I feel like shoulders is probably simpler than weapons.
Yeah, but... I mean, it's I'm not to me it sounds easier, but like I'm not a programmer.
Me neither. It just feels like it would be easier because there's less less categories of shoulders. They're just shoulders. And then weapons has different categories, and like it's a mix and matching. Like certain weapons can be other weapons, certain weapons cannot be other weapons. And with shoulders, like every shoulder can be another shoulder, but I think that the reason why weapons were prioritized is because it's a lot cooler. It's a lot more noticeable. It's a bigger topic to discuss. It's something that more people will probably use. But I do feel like we will probably see shoulders very soon too.
Wonder if like weapons look cool no matter what, and there's an expectation that they can be, mismatched. But with shoulders, like maybe there's concerns that some things could look really bad. Like if a casual person is seeing your screenshot of a gigantic shoulder and like some
charging battery
ugly looking thing, they might be like, oh, like why is Blizzard designing this ugly looking set? Like it doesn't look right. But with weapons, it's used to like, oh yeah, we're showing weapons are epic, and they sort of go with any armor. But I just feel like with shoulders, maybe they're concerned that it would be too like,
game breaking, like visually. Yeah. And maybe there's too many shoulders that are connected together as well. So like from an art perspective, it might be complicated to put them together, whereas weapons are separate, so they don't have to do anything. They don't have to worry about the art itself.
Yeah. I know there are also some shoulders where like it's one, like they're already asymmetrical. So it's like, suppose someone wants like the big shoulder, but they want it on their other side. Like, can they do that? Or can they be decoupled, or are they just a set? So there are lots of things that could be going on behind the scenes with shoulders.
Yeah. I think the art perspective it could be a difficult one maybe for certain shoulders.
Yeah. We should probably put up a brief spoiler tag for this one.
Yes.
One line of dialogue, but it seems important. So
spoiler tag is up.
Yeah.
We have a Twitch clip, right?
Yeah. Stevan was playing all the new audio, and it Muzala, who is a dungeon boss, seems to say a very interesting line.
Let's jump into it.
It be Muzala who brought Helia to the jailer's side. Struck a deal for old Odin's eye, and made the Banshee war chief with a whisper.
Oh. And there it is. I think we just heard that. I can't hear it myself, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, so... Muzala seems that he not only told Vol'jin, influenced him to make Sylvanas war chief, but he also brought in Helia as an ally, and we learn in Shadowlands that we see Helia in the introductory questline, and she's apparently behind the Forsworn as well, which was tied to Uther and Devos. And he got Helia to join the jailer by striking a deal for Odin's eye, which Odin lost when he peered into the Shadowlands, and Odin and Helia really do not like each other for actually pretty sympathetic reasons towards Helia. So that is interesting, and you have to wonder if the jailer is like trying to appeal to everyone's like sensibilities by bringing up injustices from their past and being like, oh, I'll give you something you want if you join me. And if Muzala brought Helia to the jailer side, this could add more context to the meeting between Sylvanas and Helia. Like, did he indirectly set up the meeting? Were they both talking about how they're serving the jailer? Was Sylvanas convincing Helia to join the jailer, or did that already take place? Were they talking about ways in which they could, work together? And it also explains why Helia was super powerful, because we killed her as a dungeon boss. She came back as a raid boss.
Yep.
She was the one responsible to take Illidan's soul from the Twisting Nether, and everyone assumed that she got her powers through like a secret deal with Gul'dan. But now it's like, well,
more perspective now.
Well, yeah, like we've known that Sylvanas got super powerful when she was with the jailer. So was Helia able to do all these things because she was with the jailer as well?
I'm getting flashbacks of the mythic Helia fight. It was
yeah.
It's
the
a
Twitch
tough
book
one.
has a
Good
funny
one. Yep.
name. It is all this just to be a dungeon boss, lol. And it's like, yeah, this guy does seem to have a lot going on just to kill him off, but I think he's also part of the Night Fae Covenant quest line, and we know that Helia is sticking around a while, so the story will not just end. But yes, I agree that this guy is doing a lot, so he better not just be a dungeon boss.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be like the jailer's right-hand man.
Pulling way too many strings.
Yeah. Which I guess also means that we're going to see more of Vol'jin discussing stuff if he's like, oh yeah, it's me, I did this, hi Vol'jin. So I feel like Vol'jin has to show up at some point and be like, hey, I solved one mystery. I'm upset by all this. But yeah, I think we can take the spoiler tag
down. Yes.
For now. Yeah.
Let's do that. There we go. It's down. We're safe now again, so you can unmute if you muted us before.
So we had one more topic with Sylvanas that a lot of people were discussing, and we want to keep the discussion civil on it, but it was such a hot topic that we wanted to address it. There were several instances where Garrosh and a boss in Shadowfang Keep were swearing at Sylvanas, and Blizzard recently removed these instances and substituted them with other words which still got across their disdain for her. And I think I think our first reaction was just like, Blizzard is updating their language, it was impactful but jarring, cool, they have artistic license, they can do what they want, it's not the end of the world, it's like a leveling quest, but then Blizzard explained it more, and I think we had some questions on that. But yeah, I mean, did you think this was a big deal? Because I just was like, oh yeah, it's a game, lots of people play, they removed a swear word, to me it was just like, yeah, they cleaned up some dialogue, I don't mind, I don't really curse, so
yeah. I was actually just gonna say that. So I don't really tend to curse, and this word, the B word on Sylvanas specifically, that was removed, for me it feels like, well, that's nice, just cleaning up the language a bit, and I didn't think that much of it. And then but I read the conversation that happened on Twitter with some people commenting this, and there was a response made about how this was recently mentioned because of the child of someone on the team, and that brings more questions into this. Like, the decision wasn't just to clean up the language, the decision was to potentially, I don't know, maybe make it more child friendly, and then like that also itself brings in more questions as well, because how much of the game is then going to become more child friendly? How much do we have to consider? Is it just words? What kind of words are then crossing that line? Is it the content as well? and especially with especially with this word in particular, which can be seen as also sexist. And it's interesting that it became such a big topic and the defense of it going down to that. I just thought it was interesting.
That was interesting was that when Cataclysm first came out, a lot of players that were adults, this was back when there were the old forums, like there were even more active people, would write really detailed, nuanced feedback or, discuss it on their podcasts about why they thought, these words were maybe out of place. So it was kind of jarring how on Twitter they're like, oh yeah, there's this kid and we didn't want them to hear this word. It sort of was like, wait, so this kid, like, it sort of felt like the people giving nuanced feedback weren't really listened to, or the feedback process kind of got broken. And there's a lot of memes that developers like realize something isn't right, when they get married or have a kid, and it kind of echoed that vibe. And it just felt like this kid was like trumping lots of more nuanced feedback given, for 10 years that maybe like this language didn't fit the quest.
Mm-hmm.
So to me that was just like a little funny. It was a little weird. And then if this is about removing something that is adult or scary, for like the kid, then it's like, well, are you just going to focus on vulgar language, but things like like being assaulted in game, or like Garrosh can't swear but he can bomb Theramore, like does that defense hold up well? Like what is considered an adult theme versus not an adult theme?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're just going to focus on the swearing, I think that's a missed opportunity to go back and look at a lot of the jokes that are not politically correct that did not age very well, and also in the Vanilla the Cataclysm phase. Like there are a lot of things that are not, using a swear word that would be considered offensive by a lot of different groups as like racial stereotypes or being sexist.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I saw that the language being changed, I was like, oh, maybe this is part of like a larger cleanup effort to, just like improve, not go out of our way to, have stereotypes. But when I just see, oh, we didn't want to have the kid curse, and I'm like,
yeah, it felt like a weird response.
Yeah, that's a little weirder. Yeah.
Because like I said, I don't really swear. I mean, there's maybe some swear words that are a little bit less serious that I might throw in here and there, but in general, I don't tend to curse, just the way that I've grown up, I guess. But then when I read the reasoning, where it said something like, wait, let's see, I think I have a sentence or somewhere. A team member sent feedback that he enjoyed playing the game with his kid, but when they encountered Garish's line, it stuck out from other language in the game. And then several of us discussed the feedback and decided to make a change. And it feels a little bit weird that it's this one kid of someone on the team that sparked this discussion, when there's apparently been so many others who've had a problem with this language ever since it came out. So that's the only thing that felt a bit weird. But maybe there wasn't that much thinking behind this. I think it was a tweet. Maybe it's just in the moment thinking. Maybe there was actually more reasons for it behind it, but it felt kind of off.
I preferred, not that I work for Blizzard, I'm a PR expert, but I remember when there was the discussion surrounding Pelagos and changing the pronouns to reflect Pelagos's trans identity. There was a blue post on this explaining why the changes being made before the build came out, so people wouldn't wonder about it. And I think that this maybe deserved a more nuanced blue post, being like, hi, a few months ago we committed to like, diversity and not trying to, use offensive like language or stereotypes, so we are cleaning up a few things, including like gendered insults and also maybe what we've called Jaina, or something that is unflattering about trolls, or something that's like homophobic towards blood elves. I think making a post just explaining how this is part of a larger effort would have gone over better, because like we're sort of cool with this being changed, but the method it was communicated was odd, and we didn't cover this until we saw the tweet. So by making the tweet, it invited more websites to cover it, and having a longer statement, I think, would have been more polished.
Yeah, I feel like for me it wouldn't even be a discussion if it was just just cleaning the language. All right.
Yeah,
that's like
and maybe
like someone's kid, and then the mom or dad felt uncomfortable, and it's like,
yeah, if there was a forum thread, I'm sure you would have gotten people, trolling, but it also could have been an opportunity for people to suggest, other quests or dialogue they had issues with. I actually made a tweet about this a few months ago after the Shadowlands press event, where I was talking about how this could be a good opportunity to clean up some like offensive portrayals of things in the game, and a lot of people responded to me, and this phrase actually didn't come up, but there were a lot of other phrases without swear words that people talked about them thinking it was like an offensive or stereotypical portrayal, or that the wording was not great 15 years later. So I think there could have been opportunity to handle the reasoning a lot better, because if you're going to start tweeting about this, people are going to cover that and then focus on your reaction in addition to not just changing the word. And it's also good to have context because, like I said, I think Blizzard anticipated confusion surrounding Pelagos and handled it well, and this could have been something similar.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the discussion is more relevant because of the reasoning put behind it rather than the decision itself.
Yeah, and it's like, I know a lot of people, like, Blizzard has been like pushing inclusivity and trying to like make everyone feel welcome, but in the past, like before social media, before there was more like academic discourse on video games, people that would criticize part of WoW would like face more harassment. Like I even remember having like simple tweets being like, "Hey, I don't love this item," and people would just like get super offended, like like I was being like really like mean to them. I'm like, no, I didn't really, I think that this item has like, bad flavor text. Like it's just an offhand comment. So I feel that a lot of people got a lot of anger thrown their way for trying to make a nuanced, feedback about things in Cataclysm, and to feel like they're not listened to. And it's just like, oh yeah, this kid popped up, let's ignore 10 years of people trying to politely talk about this, including, early people being really trolled for sharing an opinion, I think doesn't make some people feel great.
Yeah, I think that's the part that I was also not aware of. So it starts with, seeing a change. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm all for that. It's okay. And then, like, reasoning, having a team member bring this up because of their child. And then that was, taken seriously, which is not bad in itself. But then you start wondering, and I hear about these people who have been bringing this up, this off nuance, since 10 years ago, and they were just silenced. Then it feels a bit like, why were all those people silenced?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it sounds like over the top, but it's like, oh, we have feedback for a reason. Like, if someone was like, oh, we changed this covenant because, so-and-so thought it felt boring, you'd be like, what? Like things with the game should be done based on like feedback and reacting in an organized process, not like, oh, like emotional, like what one person said it, that's it, we're changing it. Like that wouldn't fly with other aspects of the game. So I think it had been treated with more weight. But yeah,
because they could have even said, like, for a long time actually this has been discussed and brought in as feedback, and we finally thought it's time to change it. But instead, I don't know, it just, maybe the tweet wasn't meant to be taken 100% literal and like this is exactly what happened. But it just felt off for me, at least when I read it.
Yeah, especially because like it is very nuanced, and like Twitter has a word limit, so Yeah, I think going the Pelagros route with a blue post, yeah, you would have gotten trolls, but you also would have had less confusion among the people that were actually okay with the change, but maybe were confused about the reason why it was changed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as the final part of the show, I think we want to highlight some new Shadowlands merchandise that is coming out.
If you guys saw my cats running around and me trying to look around as well, there's a daddy longleg here somewhere, and my cats are trying to attack it, and they lost track of it, and I lost track of it too, so I'm a little bit scared. So if I suddenly get attacked by a big insect, you know what happened.
We have Brightpaw ears in the foreground. Brightpaw's gonna like rip through the screen and kill the bug.
Yeah. I don't know if they caught it or not, but they're here somewhere. They're very excited because of the daddy long leg. That means it's on your head. I was specifically actually looking at myself on the camera, and I don't see one in my head, so I should be fine. And I think they would also attack my head if they saw it there.
Chat will let us know if you
yes,
if they see something on the screen.
Yes, if you see a daddy longleg here somewhere, let me know, and I'll call my cats in so they can kill it. But yeah, so yeah, Shadowlands merch. We mentioned the Arthas statue earlier.
We can talk about that one first.
Maybe start with that one first. Yeah.
Actually, 1 second. I'm going to. I have one. 1 sec.
Oh. Live showing of a statue. So basically, this Arthas statue is now on sale.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay. So we actually. All right, I'm back. So we actually highlighted this. I'm sorry, he's like falling apart.
I thought his head fell off.
Not a great way of, but we actually highlighted this. So this was originally available as part of a China exclusive physical collector's edition for Warcraft 3 Reforged, which maybe didn't make its way to the US for obvious reasons, but this statue came with it. This was a big version, was premiered at China Joy, I think a year and a half ago, and everyone loved it. They were going crazy over it. And I actually got this from China. Brightpaw is like very interested.
Is it meant to have a Frostmourne?
Yes, it is. It's fallen. Well, Brightpaw pulled it off.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Brightpaw did not eat it.
He's playing with Arthas. Brightpaw, what are you doing?
He's like, what's this? Is this food?
He's sniffing Arthas.
Oh, he's biting him.
Biting. He's biting Arthas's armor. Brightpaw, what are you doing? Look at him go.
Yeah, I can see the tongue as well. It's all in.
He's using his armor.
I don't think Brightpaw likes Arthas.
No, he doesn't. He wants to be the new Lich King. Brightpaw, look, it's Frostmourne.
Brightpaw's like, go back to the maw.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
But yes, so I got this from China, and now this statue went up for sale last week.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Prince Arthas, so you can see his like paladin spellbook on the floor. He is holding Frostmourne. This isn't broken. This just needs to be screwed in, and the cat likes to unscrew it. But you know, it is Frostmourne.
Yep.
And he's got his like armor. He's got his mace on the ground. He's got a really cool cape. No Brightpaw, no Frostmourne. No Frostmourne, Brightpaw. He's going to town. He's trying to get Frostmourne. And yeah, you can.
There it is.
See Frostmourne.
Yeah.
So now this is available on its own, and the branding is just Prince Arthas, and then we got the Afterlife Cinematic right after. So people are all like, oh, you know, what does this mean? Because, you know, this isn't our first Arthas sculpture. We also have the Beast figurine with Prince Arthas. Are we going to get some flashbacks to, you know, the uncorrupted version of Arthas, like the Bastion cinematic seemed to highlight? And yeah, it is this isn't a super heavy sculpture. You put the parts together yourself like the Ragnaros one.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the price again on it? Looking it up.
Mm-hmm.
It is 140 US dollars, and it will ship by October 16th.
And what was it originally?
Well, I mean, I got it in China, so it was like
yeah.
more complicated. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know if they purposely
Oh, this
delayed
was
it.
never available, right?
No, it was just yeah, it was I got this literally like let me see. I think the bottom of this is yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do some surgery on this.
No, I remember
So,
now. I remember now.
yeah, so this is the base.
Yeah.
And then if on the back of mine it has China Collector's Edition on it.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if this is going to be different for the US versions
Mm-hmm.
or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the timing is very interesting because we learned a lot about Arthas and Sylvanas in Warcraft 3.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was meant to be like an introduction to them, even if the game, was not
Yeah.
really well loved.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
true. And Blizzard does tend to do that sometimes with connecting, for example, Hearthstone with World of Warcraft as well. So it does make sense to have multiple games kind of connect together in that way. And maybe it was meant to be a campaign in the West as well, but due to the negative feedback, maybe they decided to scrap it.
There we go. Now we've got Frost.
There it is.
There
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, this, like I said, I mean, the statue is a little fragile. If you hold it the wrong way, pieces can fall off, but it can, stand on your desk pretty well. And it's not that heavy material. It's meant to look antique, but it's not like poured, molten bronze.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Also, if you buy this from the Wowhead link, we just joined the Blizzard Gear Shop affiliate program last week, so a small percentage of sales will go directly to us. And based on the sales of Arthas and the collector's edition, we've actually made enough money to upgrade some of our developer software. So you guys are making an impact by doing so, which is really awesome.
That's cool. Good to hear.
Yeah. So yeah, I think with this we're gonna see more of Arthas.
Uh-huh.
And in a similar way, I forgot to put this in the notes, but an illustrated version of Lord of the Clans and Rise of the Horde, which features Thrall, is coming on October 20th. And with that Maldraxxus short, it's making me think that we are gonna see something with Thrall if merchandise with him and Garrosh and Revendreth is it makes it seem like something big will happen with him as well if they're taking the time now to explain the origins of Thrall more as well. So do you want to highlight the collector's edition next?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Cool. Collector's apparently is shipping already.
Yeah, people are really excited by this because there's always been this tension in the past where people want the digital rewards or the benefits of the collector's edition before the expansion goes live. But if they're waiting for the physical collector's edition, they
they may miss out.
Or they have to buy another version of the game and then refund part of it. And people are always frustrated by this. But now, you can get this 2 weeks in advance on October 13th, ahead of October 26th.
We just got raided by Preach.
Oh, awesome!
With a message, hello from Mike.
Hey.
Hi from Mike. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, everyone. We were just talking about Shadowlands merch, including this pretty sweet Arthas statue.
Yeah. For those of you guys who missed, this statue was available in Asia only up until now. It is now available in the West as well, in the US store. And yeah, we thought it was interesting that it was first only available there, and now it's available in the US store as well. And the second part of merch, so to speak, is the collector's edition, which has started shipping. And that's a huge topic for a lot of people because many prefer to buy the digital version to just make sure that they have it as soon as possible and not having to wait for the physical part of it to come. I think they did make a better solution recently where you were able to refund parts of it, but obviously this is much better that the shipping has already started for many people.
Yeah. The box, if you, they actually had a few going on sale, and the box looks very exciting if you're someone who likes to display stuff in the background because it's all like holographic, so it catches the light really nicely. And there are things coming with it like pins and an art book. We didn't have an art book in BFA, so it's really neat to see the return of the art book coming back in Shadowlands.
Indeed.
We again put up a link because a few of them were back on their gear shop and they sold out instantly. So again, thanks for the support. I don't know if more will be going on sale, but we will definitely let you know if we see another batch pop right up.
So to be exact, has the shipping started or when is it starting?
The exact wording was the Shadowlands Collector's Edition will ship from retailers early beginning on October 13th. So I guess worst case scenario could be that, I don't know, with COVID, maybe if you live farther away, it could take longer. But the whole process is moved up at least 2 weeks, which is, better than, I don't know, having it be delayed and getting it a month after the expansion starts.
So it's shipping early, as in at least 2 weeks earlier than it would have done in the past.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. There it is.
So,
now we know.
We were also just talking about how Blizzard was announcing and dropping a lot of books, and they are going all in on books. This was extremely popular on our Twitter, I think because it reached a different audience than usual. They are announcing a World of Warcraft Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth anthology coming April 14th, 2021, and it's a series of 12 fantasy stories by best-selling authors that have, won awards in their particular genre. So I think this is a very interesting, savvy move on Blizzard's end because they're not just, trying to reach their, core, maybe, obvious gamer audience, like, oh, let's run an ad during, American football or soccer, but it seems they're trying to maybe draw people in that are slightly older, that like to read, that are interested in the like fantasy RPG elements of WoW, and the story. Like some of these artists, some of these authors I like reading for fun in my spare time, so it was really exciting, if you're like watching a TV show and you're like, oh, I like, that writer. Oh wow, she's doing WoW as well. I just thought this was very interesting, and I hope it does well because I would like to see more of this.
Yeah. No, I can definitely imagine, especially people like yourself too, who are very interested in reading, seeing something like this. It makes that part of World of Warcraft fantasy, or just RPG fantasies in general, feel a lot more appreciated. And when is this releasing? April 14th, 2021. So it's a bit in the future. It's a series of 12 fantasy stories. Yeah. No, this is really cool.
And like I saw a lot of the authors retweeting Wowhead, and a lot of their audience doesn't necessarily have World of Warcraft followers. Yeah. So this may draw in some people that maybe played WoW and quit, or they like games but they play maybe like single player campaigns that are more about the story. So I think that I think that this is very interesting, and
it's a sweet side.
I hope it pays off for Blizzard. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe it's not just like, oh, like, the solution is to have like more advertisements during football. Maybe the solution is to try some unconventional things and see if you can bring in more people that way.
Different kind of people.
Yeah. And then for our final book, This was also revealed at Gamescom, and there is a lore compendium called Grimoire of the Shadowlands and Beyond. And this is very interesting because they say that there's going to be fresh secrets straight from the game team. And we had a chronicle being needed for Riddler of the Mindseekers. So when they say secrets, is this like literally a secret in the book? Even if it's not, even if it's like, oh, we learned something about Sylvanas, it still seems pretty major. And they say it's coming with striking artwork and a fold-out map, and the fairy tale book is also talking about artwork. So it seems like Blizzard has really like internalized the lessons of no art and no books in BFA to put art everywhere now, and I'm kind of okay with this.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too. I mean, hopefully it doesn't mean that we get less cinematics, because the art there has been amazing in BFA. But it's really nice to see things being focused on the sort of fancy aspects of things. I think art is a lot more appreciated when it comes to focusing on the fancy things than the necessarily gameplay type of things.
It's like whatever you may think about covenants or whatnot, the art team is not designing covenants or legendaries, and a lot of their work is evocative and holds up regardless of the balance or the quest bugs in a patch. Like, it can be enjoyed on its own merits.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no matter what happens, it can live up to its own standards of things without having to worry about those gameplay things.
And then finally, we have another Gear Store affiliate thing where there is a poster of Uther from Afterlife's Bastion. We talked about this earlier on the show, how at the end there's like the climactic moment where they both are dark and in shadow, and the smoke is starting to creep up, kind of hinting at
Charging battery.
Turn and darker model in game. And you can buy this as a poster in many versions, and I wonder if they're going to put a poster up of for the other three cinematics. Like, that would be pretty cool if we got, a Draka one or a, Sire Denathrius one.
Yeah, my headset felt like letting us know that
Your
it's
headset is
charging
very
again.
opinionated today.
It's not meant to mention it all the time, only if it dies, which it's not supposed to do, but it did earlier today. I'll just switch off the noise next time. It's okay.
Of course.
We got this. And honestly, it's
yeah.
even charged enough now. It charges really fast. So
Cool.
there we go. No more charging batteries. We're good.
Yay.
But yeah, though this looks amazing, and I would love to see a shot like this for all of the different Afterlife episodes. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I want more. I think I've highlighted this on the show before. Can I pull it? Here we go. There we go. Something else fell. But yeah, I think it's awesome.
I remember
but I
those.
liked,
Yeah.
Yeah, they did these little art packets of many stills from the Warbringers, and I like that variety. I'm like, I want one of like Devos, and I want one of Arthas. I want all the prints. But to be fair, just looking at this, I don't know if you can see on the back, mine's marked as a limited edition, 549 out of 750, and these prints are not limited edition. So maybe if everyone can get this print and it can be sold for a cheap price, that's probably better for everyone. And maybe with having more art books, we will see some of cinematic stills from Afterlives show up in these other books coming in the future.
Do you want to give us a glimpse of that again? Because I put
Oh,
the
yeah,
camera to focus
sure.
on you now.
Okay, so this is Warbringer's Ashara. And you can see that it had a portfolio, and you can see two pieces of art on both sides. And then on either side, how do I do this? They come detached, and then there were multiple pieces that you can see.
Yep.
And they all have different color schemes. And then I also got this one for Jaina, and I was 442 out of 750 for this one. This one was easier to get because it was available via the US, but with the Shara, I needed to have a friend that was attending Gamescom go to the booth
I
and
remember.
buy it for me because it was a European thing. So for Jaina, these are more the same color palette, mostly blue. But we've got, cool pictures of Jaina
Yeah.
as well. Let
Mm-hmm.
me see if I can pull the other side out. Right, pause. Like, oh, like all these pictures. I'm gonna step on these, but he's not gonna do that. But yeah, I think Jaina had 7 instead of 6.
Okay.
But yeah.
Battery
So,
low.
I think that personally, I like having more pieces of art than less. But I understand why Blizzard was trying to be more accessible and, have one piece of art that you could get in many different dimensions.
Yeah.
I have all this merch on my desk. I've got like an Arthas statue, and I've got like art now, and I've got a cat in the center. So we have a lot going. On
Someone
this
was
desk.
saying Perk has all the perks. No, honestly,
Yeah.
Perk has some of the most amazing collections out there. You can see a just a part of it behind her. But almost anything you talk about, she'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I do have, a statue of that or a painting of that."
Are
Look
you
at
seeing
that,
the Jaina and the
yes.
Shara now?
Yes.
Yeah, and if we keep going, you can see more Jaina and a lot of
yes.
fan art of like Frenone's playing cards and
Are those Bratz
Sepish's Demon
dolls?
Hunter Pepe. Those are Monster High and Ever After High. A lot of these are from their circus collection.
Uh-huh.
Mattel did these. I think they've lost popularity at this point, but I really like collecting them for the fashion. So they still have a place of honor on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and in the background you can see Jaina over there, far on the side as well.
Yeah, I see it.
I know people didn't
Wait,
love Jaina's face,
Actually,
but
it's not.
I like her.
It's not available on
Oh,
the stream. I'm just gonna move you a little bit on the stream. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
There. Now you can see it.
Yeah, so she's up in the corner, and then above her is the Ragnaros from Classic WoW.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, you can see the WoW plushies here, more collectibles and pins. This is a Deathwing mask from TwitchCon, Blizzard Party. A few years ago, there was, a villain con thing. We had to pick one of the 4 villains. I got a Deathwing. But yeah, I have a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Next show, actually, I just got sent that Small Worlds Warcraft board game. And that's coming out September 4th, so I can show it up on the stream. I'm in quarantine, so I can't play it with anyone, but maybe I'll take some fun pictures of Brightpaw staring at the board.
Yeah, that's a good point. We can't play board games.
Yeah. I have fun reviewing merch, and, I like things surrounding me that make me happy, so there's a lot of stuff in this room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. I love your room. It looks amazing.
Thank you. So, I think we are about done on
I
stuff
think that's
for today.
a wrap. Indeed.
If you guys have any questions, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
We are hard at work at Wowhead on pre-patch information. So if you're wondering if any guides are coming, let us know. We may already have something in the works, but we're working very hard on, addressing or your leveling and item squish and other fun concerns.
Mm-hmm. As the sort of last words on it, I am still surprised the expansion is so soon. I was expecting it to come a month later. And
yeah, like we thought as well. Put that in our god.
Yeah, I was thinking end of November, maybe November 20th or something. November 25th maybe. And it's here so soon. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I just hope that there's enough polish in place. It feels like we were saying in the alpha things were moving along at a decent clip and there was lots of feedback, and then it seems in beta stuff maybe slowed down, or as they added more endgame systems, they realized, oh wow, this is more complex than we thought. Maybe people were hype about the unpruning in April, but when you tangle that all up with covenants and legendaries and soul binds, it now is a bigger problem to solve than we thought.
And it's just a simple thing. Even people who have been playing actively haven't really reached their end because no one has reached the highest level of corruption on their cloaks. So
Yeah.
something like
Need a few weeks to enjoy that.
yeah, and like we haven't reached the ending yet. I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh my god, finally, get rid of BFA," and I understand that completely as well. But for people who actually do play, it feels kind of weird that we, in that case, weren't given things to be a little bit sped up, having the corruption system happen faster, having corruptions not on a rotating vendor. Like right now, if I missed the corruption that was there in the last lockout, it would be back in a month. In a month is pre-patch, which means that corruption is obsolete. So that means I can never buy the corruption I want.
That I'm not sure is being addressed. PvP scaling. We keep seeing all these videos from Rextroy, and now this monk today, how if you take your gear off, you start one-shotting people
you saw that.
in arena. And it's like, we don't even have PvP forums on beta, so this is like...
Yeah.
Will this be fixed in time for the Shadowlands season? Because, every few days, there's another naked so-and-so one-shots this character.
I am amazed the touch of death thing was not discovered earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's so illogical. Like, if you take off your gear, you will deal more damage. Like, who...
Yep.
But, yeah, now like, everyone knows about that.
It's like, you pop touch of death? No, don't keep hitting your target. Just hide. Take off your gear. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Pre-patch is here soon, guys.
Yeah, we don't know when. Usually they do the 2-week warning for end of season. So, every Tuesday we're going to be waiting anxiously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like we said, the last Shadowlands Afterlife Cinematic is the 17th. So it feels like the earliest that could be is the 22nd. But with so much going on, it could be the 29th with this impressive influence buff. I don't know if they want that overlapping with the pre-patch, if that could create, confusing things, if people could be abusing things, if that would create complications, or like, kind of forcing people to level in Legion or BFA to get reps faster. I don't know. But yeah, we don't have a pre-patch date yet. But as soon as we do, we will let you know.
Yes. A question in the chat if we think there's going to be more keys for the beta. I think that they are not constantly, but I think they are in regular intervals still inviting people. I think they invite a wave, and when they notice that that population is playing less, they kind of invite a new wave, to keep populating the servers as much as possible, but not too much at once.
A note on the keys, I know that like EU, NA have different teams and like legal procedures. We are trying to get beta accesses, but even though Wowhead has a big EU population, we are classified as an NA site. And while we've been in touch with Blizzard about how we'd want to give out keys and engagement in the past, we don't have those yet. And
I think did not realize that.
If you look at like streamers, like a lot of the streamers, I think all of you guys have been EU based because it's the same thing, and the average user is just like, oh yeah, well, like I watch everyone, I use Wowhead in Russian, like they don't realize the difference.
I'm actually drawing my winners tonight.
I guess we're actively trying to work on beta keys. We've been discussing ways which we want to give them away. If I had
known, we should have done something together. I didn't realize you didn't have any, because I was given a lot more than I expected. Like Blizzard gave me a lot of keys. My last giveaway is 50 keys, and if I'd known, we should have done something together. I didn't know. And yeah, they're not keys. They're actually a flagging of accounts. So the way it works is when I find a winner or winners, I will ask them for their battle tags, and then I am giving the battle tags to Blizzard, who will then flag those accounts and activate them. That's how it works.
If you get more keys or
Wowhead, I'm contacting you straight away. If I'm getting anything else,
we can do like a Wowhead weekly thing.
Yeah.
Right, but you want to give away keys?
I think a lot of times when something happens in the World of Warcraft world, you kind of forget that NA and EU is kind of divided, even though it's the same company.
Yeah. And like
Okay.
so much of Wowhead, you know, like uses the site in Russian or German or French. So you don't think that Wowhead is an NA site.
Mm-hmm.
This was maybe a mistake picking up Right Paw.
Interesting. So legal differences.
Yeah, like you know, even really legal, boring, dry things like GDPR, like if you compare what the legal like saying has to be like in NA versus EU, the layouts for accepting cookies on sites are different. There are some different things.
Mm-hmm. There, I'm posting
Right Paw is
my
staying. What a
tweet
good
there if
boy.
you guys are interested. I mean, that also explains the huge amounts of interest in these accesses that I got. I haven't really kept track of other people, and now everything makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
NA people just didn't get them, and NA is generally speaking standing for or representing a large part of the content creator sort of world. So that makes, yeah, interesting. I had no idea. I didn't realize it was EU only. The winners
Like,
can
we're
be both EU
or anything.
or NA though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like I don't think people realize the difference because it's not totally you know, apparent. But we actually have some other type giveaways that we're planning, I think next week, which should be exciting for like different like merchandise. I don't want to get into too many details because it should be a surprise. We've got a few giveaways coming, and you know, people have still been really hype about you know, supporting Wowhead on the site, you know, checking out our Gamescom coverage. So, you know, I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining why the keys like
Yeah, of
seem more
course.
selective.
Of course.
Because a lot of people are like used to Wowhead doing like the big like, oh, you know, do something in game and you know,
Yeah,
get
that's
a
the thing. I
beta
feel like
key. We've gotten
Wowhead.
thousands each week, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's sort of we want that. It's just a
Wowhead
little
do like you guys do amazing giveaways for these situations. So that's why I'm like surprised. But if it's like a legal thing, it makes total sense, of course.
no, right, bud, don't meow. Don't be upset with Blizzard.
You have like slowly but surely gotten darker. I'm not sure if it's
Ow,
because you
Right
had
Paw.
sunlight and now you don't,
Yeah.
or
Let me.
it's not a big deal. We're at the end of the show. It's time
Right
to sleep
Paw.
now, guys. It is
I
nighttime.
think he darkened something. I think this is still dark, but not as dark. I feel like, yeah. Let me.
It's okay. We can still see you fine. I just noticed that it was darker than before.
Okay, I think that's a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yes, it's time to wrap it up, boys and girls and everyone. We will be back next week with potentially a pre-patch date, maybe. Hopefully not. I need more time to finish things before pre-patch. But yeah, we can expect it to be probably the 3rd or 4th week of this month, most likely. Shadowlands just around the corner. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for it, and the wait is almost over. Hopefully we will see some rapid improvements on tuning and words from Blizzard in the last few weeks so that everything goes as smooth as possible. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see you all again next week.
Next week. We should do our high five.
Yes. Bright Paw's like, me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm in the middle. No, he's eating Arthas. No, Brightpaw, don't eat Arthas. But yes, let's do the high five.
Yes, let's do the high five. You go for the count.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I think I just high-fived Brightpaw's tail. I swear. Did you see that?
No, don't mute me, Brightpaw. No.
Oh. He's such a cutie.
He just activated Siri and muted me.
Oh,
and
okay.
Just mushed the entire keyboard.
We still hear you fine, so at least on our end, nothing looks wrong. Yes. Everything is fine.
I think it may have turned off my ability to hear you. Awesome. Good job, Brightpaw.
We will see you all next week. Till then, take care of yourselves and people around yourself. Oh, you can't hear me.
I have a cat.
Okay. She can't hear me. Let's have some hearts in the
I'm
chat
just
for
go,
Perk.
Like, wave my hand.
Yeah,
and say
let's
goodbye,
spam some hearts in the chat. So
cat.
Perk will be like, what's this? Yes, some hearts in the chat. We love you, Perk. There we go. All right, see y'all next week. Bye-bye.